kind of fits together kind of like a big puzzle of a kind, she says, right? Notice we're 200 miles up when we get there, right? She says, it's strange that the Earth on page 470 is not awe-inspiring, that blue marble made famous by photos from the moon. But from space shuttle height, she says, we can't see the entire globe at a glance. So in other words, you're close enough that you can see the surface of the Earth, but you don't have the perspective. Let's write this one down already at 2A, another major message. And this is an interesting idea. It says, everything is about perspective. Everything is about perspective. Now we can speak literally about this, perspective in regards to something like she's describing, but of course everything is as well about perspective in terms of everything else in our life. Let's say it this way. The difference between knowledge and understanding is that understanding is about appreciating perspective. Does that make sense? Right? Appreciating perspective. Understanding the value of perspective. In other words, you knew a whole lot more about middle school. Think about this. You knew a whole lot more about middle school when you were in 8th grade than when you were in 6th grade. Why? Because you'd have some perspective, right? Seniors will often say to freshmen, you don't really understand high school until sometime late into the middle of your junior year. And then you finally start to figure it out. And it's only in your senior year that you then start to respect what you start to learn. The number of seniors in 303 that have pointed out to me over the years, I never really understood high school until I finally hit my senior year, and then I began to realize it's all starting to come to an end very quickly, right? Same kind of idea, that pace with which she circles the Earth. Notice on page 471, it's all about an appreciation, right, of what it is that she's saying. She talks about the power of straight lines on page 471, much more visible. She talks about some of the unfortunate effects that she can witness, especially the pollutant haze and some of those kinds of things, right? She gives one example, for example, on page 471, sensors used to measure atmospheric carbon monoxide levels, allowing scientists to study the environmental effects of city emissions and land clearing fires. And then she starts talking about the water, the blue, and the oceans, the intricate patterns of the oceans on 472, and ocean dynamics. She talks about the energy balance in the oceans on 472. She then talks about, you can see ships, and you can see the controls of planes, the smoke that comes out of the back of planes. Then she talks on page 473 about the dark side of the planet at night and the lights. Notice she comments on when the moon is full. This is one of those things you wouldn't think about. Look at the paragraph on 473. It's kind of cool, the second paragraph. When the moon is full, it casts an eerie light. That word eerie matches nicely with the word surreal earlier in the essay. On the Earth, in its light, we see ghostly clouds. It's an interesting adjective. Ghostly clouds and bright reflections on the water, right? One night she talks about how the Mississippi River flashed into view, and then she mentions Huck Finn, one of the great travelers of the Mississippi River, right? Making a reference that she kind of assumes everybody's going to know is reading this. She talks about lightning and how lightning is this amazing kind of experience, right? As she's watching it. We see lightning from below looking up. They see lightning from above looking down, and it has a completely different kind of experience for her. Notice again, it's all about perspective. The same event, lightning, is appreciated from two different perspectives depending on whether you're below or above, right? And then finally she talks about the sun. She says it. You can't really, she says at the bottom of 473, you really can't describe a sunrise in orbit, right? You can't really describe it. I mean, you come around the Earth out of black, and then all of a sudden there's the sun again. She says, the drama set against the black backdrop of space. Jot down in your notes, what do you think about this word drama? Because, I mean, it's like a play drama. It's like something amazing that you're kind of expecting, and then keep reading. The drama set against the black backdrop of space, the magic of the materializing colors can't be captured in an astronomer's equations or an astronaut's photographs. Let's just play with that line for a second in a close reading. Notice she uses the word drama and she uses the word magic, and then she turns around and says, equations cannot explain it. In other words, I can talk to you about the mathematics of it, but I cannot talk to you about the magic of it. I know a pilot who says this, we can tell you everything about planes and flight because we know all the math, but nobody on this planet really understands why the plane takes off. It's a magic. It's beyond. It's a mystery. Why it works. I can tell you all the math of how it works, this pilot says, but I can't really explain to you why it works. It's one of those kind of really mind screw kinds of things, and she's playing that game, right? Then she contradicts conventional wisdom. This is fun. She says, you know, people sometimes have ideas and they think, well, it's just common sense. And she says, no. It's not like flying in an airplane at all. She says, not true. She says it's natural to liken space flight to familiar experiences. It can't be brought down to earth. Note the irony of the use of down to earth, right? Not in the final sense. The environment is different. The perspective is different. Part of the fascination with space travel is the element of the unknown, the conviction it's different from earthbound experiences, and of course it is. All right, let's jump to 2a really quickly. One of the major themes here is obvious, right? One of the major messages of this text is it's very hard sometimes to describe the indescribable. Poets, of course, spend all their lives trying to describe love, trying to describe hate, but it's indescribable. It's translinguistic. It's beyond words. And yet, notice, we want to know. Point number 2. We as humans seem to want to know the unknowable. We always are pushing against, aren't we? Tell me something I can learn. I want to know more about that. Until I finally get to that point where I ask a question and a teacher in our life goes, I don't know the answer to that. Nobody knows the answer to that. You're kind of on the outsides of our knowledge, and now we start to approach maybe understanding, maybe not understanding. Let's jump quickly now to 2b. This is, of course, an expository essay where she exposes information. She presents information. Notice she doesn't really, with the exception at the very end of the essay, she doesn't really have too many opinions. For example, she doesn't go into, it's a really silly thing for us to be destroying our planet, blah, 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 blah. She doesn't do any of that, right? She has the opportunity to do that. This is not a persuasive essay in that regards. I'm making a point here because later we're going to hit persuasive essay writing and we'll see a difference, right? Here, simple exposition. Let me tell you what I saw. Well, the best I can tell it to you because it's kind of really difficult to explain to you something that is kind of beyond your experience. You have to kind of have been there to experience it. Let's jump to level 3a. What is your favorite text about space and space travel? Is there any way that you can maybe compare it, for example, to something like that? I mean, is that possible for you? Okay. Maybe for you, you might as well think about, for example, this kind of idea. What is for you a film that kind of explains the notion that there are some things which just can't be explained. There are some things which just cannot be understood. They defy any kind of explanation, any kind of understanding. Do you have a song in mind that maybe kind of teaches that concept as well? Of course, at 3b, what's the best way that you can experience this? Some gamers will point this out. I can play a game for the first time and some of my pals will ask me, well, what was it like? And you go, dude, you just have to experience it. I cannot explain it to you. It's beyond words. What's the last time you had that beyond words experience? What was that for you? The last time that somebody, for example, or you had an experience and somebody asked you about it and you were like, man, I just cannot explain that. It is beyond language. Of course, the question is, can you, as you get older, begin to find words to express things that you don't understand when you're young? Well, the Hansberry text says, yeah, you can. That's the challenge, actually, is to try to describe things as you get older. Sometimes we only appreciate or understand experiences much later in our life. We'll next turn to the Neil Postman text news, and we'll play along with another similar kind of idea game of expository writing. And I hope this study helps you to become a better writer as well as, obviously, a better reader. Thank you.